She mentioned something here specifically at the very end. This is the epilogue specifically, where Robyn, let's see, Kody and Robyn even severed ties with Mykelti, who had once been close to Robyn. This is my...
Welcome back to my channel. Okay, we've been talking about Kody and Robyn getting exposed and Christine's book, and there's even more tea coming from Mykelti Brown. Mykelti is the second oldest daughter and the second oldest of Kody's 6 kids with Christine. Mykelti is and used to be the most loyal to Kody because of her relationship with Robyn. However, in the past several years, her relationship with Kody and Robyn has completely disintegrated. And in Christine's book, she mentions that Kody and Robyn have severed ties with Mykelti. Mykelti on her Patreon just last night was discussing the last part of Christine's book, and she dove into what was going on with her and Kody. Here's where we can break things down. Mykelti takes issue with the fact that her mom framed it like Kody and Robyn had severed ties with her. From her point of view, Mykelti says it's much more of a mutual decision. She, over time, didn't like the things that she was hearing her father and Robyn say. They didn't like things that Mykelti was saying and doing. You can put however you want to put that, but I think a lot of this comes back to what was being said on the show, what was being said behind the scenes, and fundamental disagreements about that. Okay. And she said that it became clear that she could not have conversations with her dad without having extreme anxiety and without feeling a lot of fear, reliving trauma anytime she spoke to him. And so she says it's more mutual, but they are not talking and they have not talked in a long time. She, in fact, stated that she has not seen them since Garrison's funeral, which was in March of 2024. She was unable to attend the memorial that occurred in July of 2024 in Wyoming, where they buried Garrison. And due to the fact that she was not there, she has not seen Kody and Robyn, spoken to Kody and Robyn since Garrison's funeral. That's it. Now, she doesn't say exactly what happens, but she kind of made clear that she's fully on the I hate Kody bandwagon. She hates her dad. And I'm sure some of that is rooted in, anger, frustration, the family splitting. But I will also say that a lot of her changes occurred in 2 places. One, her brother, Garrison, who is fairly close in age to her, took his own life. Then she moved away from Utah to North Carolina and got distance from her family. The further distance she got from her dad and from her mom, her views have changed dramatically. And I would say that she's definitely coming out of that fog of the manipulation and the gaslighting that is Kody Brown.
I forgot if you already said this. Do you think any of your siblings read it? No. I would hazard a guess that none of my siblings have touched this book, whether buying it, the physical copy, Audible copy, or anything else. I doubt it. I don't think any of my siblings have even looked into reviews about it. However, I will be heavily recommending this book to any of my siblings who are okay with, as soon as you read this, you will be part of the I Hate Kody Club. It's hard not to be part of that club if you read the book. And that's me saying that, who I'm more like to stay on the middle of all things. So
this is a huge shift for her, right? She used to defend her dad. She used to defend Robyn religiously. She would make excuses for their behavior. But I'll say this confidently because I've been watching all of her Patreons. Her views about them have really evolved, especially since the death of her brother, simply because I believe part of the issue here is that there's a fundamental disagreement with Kody and Robyn about how the way that Kody treats his children and uses them for content on the show impacts the kids. And I think it's very clear to a lot of the kids that the way that he bullies them by speaking about them on the show, bringing his conflicts about them into the show, and then berating them on the show contributes to trauma for them in their private lives, impacts their mental health, and makes it so they don't trust their dad, because if they have a conversation with their dad, it might end up on the show. She spoke pretty candidly about, at this point in time, she doesn't even feel comfortable talking to him. She said she has a lot of anxiety if she even thinks about it. And then after she made the comment about how she doesn't speak to him because she can't, she's not emotionally there yet, she then spoke and goes into how the show plays a factor of it.
Strongly believe, like I've said probably a million times now, the only way for any of my siblings and myself specifically to be able to heal and have a conversation, have a relationship with my dad and start to mend things with my dad and with Robyn is for the show to end. My mom talks about it in this book a couple of times, how after they would film something, they'd go home, they would deal with their trauma, they would emotionally move on, and then they'd be brought back to relive the moments on the interview set and talk about them. And then they'd be brought back again to talk about them. And then the show comes out and they have to watch it and it gets brought back again. Because of that, there's no closure. And without closure, it's hard to move on because things keep getting brought back up and you keep being like, I can't do that. So when the show is over, I think that there is a great chance of all of us mending relationships. But I don't think even if the show ended today, any of us would be emotionally ready to start. So we're a good couple of years out, guys, for sure.
I completely understand what she's saying here, because it would appear that if she has a conflict, or if one of her siblings has a conflict with her dad, let's talk about Garrison and Gabriel when it came to Robyn and Kody, the fight about the COVID rules, right? That was honestly a protest of Garrison and Gabriel of not wanting to follow TLC's rules, because in their mind, why would they follow rules for a show that they're not getting paid for and they don't really care to be a part of and is causing all kinds of conflict? They're on the show to help their moms, but they're not being paid, right? The COVID rules are made by TLC and they're forced to follow them if they want to be a part of the show. And a lot of the rebellion of those rules was around not wanting to be involved in a show, understanding the damage the show has been causing the family. And then Kody weaponizing those conflicts around their rebellion of the show and these rules and turning it into a fight about them not liking Robyn. Now, on the show, they blamed Robyn for the rules, but in fairness, Robyn likely was wanting to adhere to these because for Robyn's eyes, this income they have to sustain in order for her and Kody to live their life, right? So if Kody and Robyn are the most invested in the show and the money that they're making because they're the ones that had the pot of all the money, right? They're making all of the money. All the women were sometimes getting a cut from them, but they, for the most part, were hoarding all of it. They're the ones that are benefiting most and want everyone to fall in line so that they can make the money. But those kids during that time were starting to be more vocal and saying, we see what he's doing, right? So at the same time this was happening, the fight they're having with their dad, they're watching the dad basically not care about their mom, not help their mom buy a house, not help their mom build a house, but then buying a $900,000 home with Robyn, recognizing that they were neglecting the needs of their mother again and doing and spending the money wildly on Robyn. The fight really is about the neglect their mom was experiencing, the exploitation their mom was going through, and the way that he was treating them. And the vehicle they were doing that through was the show. At root, the show was the problem. And even in Garrison's, final text message, he's sending it to a group of the producers, and he's saying that he wants to hate them for the good times, but he misses those days, right? He had killed himself right after the worst season of Kody just being brutal to him. And so a lot of the kids at that point recognized the harm. They were seeing it even before then. And many of them have rebuffed any involvement in the show since. And Christine, at the end of her book, says none of her kids want to be involved. Of course, they will sometimes appear on the show to help their mom, but they don't want to be associated in any way with their dad. And they don't feel safe to talk to him because they don't want their conflicts with him weaponized for content on the show. And it's clear that that's where so much of this division with Kody and his children is occurring. And I honestly applaud the kids, the adult kids, for recognizing that. And I truly hope that, Mykelti continues to use her voice for her siblings that maybe don't feel comfortable saying it and speaking it. Some people don't like Mykelti, but I appreciate the fact that she's now recognizing and willing to say it. Now, she also spoke on top of the conflict of Kody with the COVID issues. Another issue for her relates to her siblings and how he has treated her younger siblings, namely her treatment of herself. He was horrible to her as a child. If you watch her Patreons, she speaks all the time about how he punished her and he didn't get her a clotter ring and he didn't treat her the same as the other girls. And she had a terrible relationship with him as a kid, lots of trauma. And then as an adult, she gets closer, or as a teen, she gets closer to Robyn, which gives her a little bit more access to him. But then even that isn't an authentic relationship and she's being used by him and she knows that now, right? But it's the issues with how he's treated Truly and really how he treated Isabel that were awful for her. And because they don't watch the show and she hasn't seen those earlier episodes, she started doing reactions to the episodes after Christine left, but she hasn't gotten to the episodes of when Isabel had her surgery. So she didn't know what he said about, he couldn't be away from his family. She had no clue until she read the book. And that's why most of them don't watch the show, is because they don't want to hear what Kody says to their siblings. They don't want to hear what Kody says about them. But then she spoke about how things changed for Truly, which now I understand better why Truly doesn't go to their house anymore.
Personal opinion, I guess I would say, but that's it. Aside from the one visit filmed with Truly at your dad's, has she stayed with them again? So I think that they stayed not by herself. She hasn't stayed with them again by herself, like overnight. But she has stayed with other people. So we had kind of like a Christmas. We had a Christmas, like it was like a Christmas 2.0 because it wasn't Christmas Day with Robyn and her family. So it was Isabel, Truly, and I. We did film it. And we stayed the night there. We all cuddled in the same bed and stuff. So like we've done some stuff, but not by herself.
In Christine's book, she talks about Truly and Kody's relationship after the split. And one of the factors for her with Truly was that she and Truly had always been together. And Kody had never spent one-on-one time with Truly where he had ever supervised her alone. So she had never been with Kody as just Kody taking care of her overnight, ever. She was very close to her siblings, very close to her mother. So when they first split, right, they have a schedule. She's moving to Utah. She has to go back and forth to Flagstaff. And during that time, she brings Truly so that Truly can see her siblings with Kody and Robyn and see her dad. She finds out over this time that, in all of the times that she's down there to visit, there's only 5 times in an entire year that Kody can see Truly. Most of those times are not overnight and they're only for a few hours. While Truly is in town, often she wants to see Janelle. She wants to see Savannah. She wants to see Gwendolyn. She wants